All right, good mid-morning. My name is Madison Keefe. I am a branch manager and commercial lender at Mountain Valley Bank here in Steamboat. I just wanted to say thank you to everyone who's taken the time to participate today. Intentional and clear communication with our teams, our customers, and our community in this day and age isn't just the words that we say. Unfortunately, it's the emails and Teams messages that we send, the way our website looks, and our social media. And today, I'm looking forward to getting the chance to learn from the very best, Kenzie Pugsley. Kenzie is the creative marketing director at the Steamboat Springs Chamber and is responsible for producing high quality marketing material and strategy for Visit Steamboat Springs. She is the lead on marketing strategy for the Chamber lead events, including Steamboat Marathon, Oktoberfest, and the Chamber's education and networking events. She works specifically in social media and digital marketing since 2019 for a diverse group of industries from lodging to restaurants and activities with local businesses and beyond. Before I give her the virtual mic and go on mute, I would like to also thank our business education series sponsors, Mountain Valley Bank, UC Health, Northwest Data Services, Colorado Housing and Finance Authority, Routt County, and the Wild Horse Refuge. Additionally, please switch your chat to everyone. We also ask that you put your questions in the Q&A function, and you can also enter those anonymously if you so choose. Thank you for joining us today. Kenzie, I'll let you get us started.
Okay, thank you so much. As Madison said, my name is Kenzie Pugsley. I have been here at the Chamber for almost 5 years, and I am currently charged with running our visitor social channels, our marathon social channels, and Oktoberfest. But I've been lucky enough to work with a lot of local businesses across different industries in town here. And so it's been fun kind of testing strategies with different industries. But I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and we will jump in. I'm super excited to be talking with you guys today. So, social media 101 for businesses. This is mainly going to be angled towards small to medium size. But happy to talk with anybody who doesn't feel like it's totally applicable to them. Any questions you guys have today and after today, I would be happy to answer. But my goal for you is to walk away with simple, actionable digital marketing strategies that you can start on today. As I said, it's going to be for small and medium-sized businesses in Steamboat Springs and Routt County. We'll do 40 minutes or so of insights, followed by Q&A. So I want to start with defining brand identity. I think the key to kind of talking about social media is starting from the very foundation and digitally defining our brand identity, digitally crafting a clear, memorable, and authentic voice that is going to set your business apart here in the Yampa Valley. More than likely, you have a logo and a brand kit from when your organization went through your process of creating a logo and such. But this is kind of how to translate it into different platforms and create a clear style that is going to resonate with your audience. So starting with visual identity across your channels. Today, I'm mostly talking about Facebook and Instagram. A lot of what we're going to be discussing can translate into other platforms, but just for the sake of today, this is kind of my focus. But anyways, okay, let's get it started. Visual identity goes far beyond your brand style guide created alongside your logo. You usually are given a brand kit when you make a logo. It's got your core colors, your typography. Sometimes it gives you like kind of a manifesto. But this is kind of how your brand is going to be showing up every day across your social platforms. So the idea is to be recognizable, whether it's conscious or not by your audience, by the aesthetic that you're presenting to the world via your social channels. So creating consistency with 2 to 3 core colors, use those across your online posts and your physical signage. Your typography, you're given a lot of different options when creating reels on different typography that you can put on your reel. So staying consistent with that and just focusing on brand continuity and readability across all your platforms. So moving into your brand voice, this is kind of a good way to show you what I'm talking about when we talk about visual identity. So we have Steamboat, Colorado here on the left. This is our visitor channel. We don't usually post graphics on this channel, but you can see that I'm trying to be consistent in kind of the aesthetic that we're presenting on the feed. Same with October West. We only use this typography here. I think it's called Chunk 5. So that's the only one I use whenever I'm creating graphics specifically for October West, not just on our social channels, but in our printed materials as well. And then you can see we kind of try to keep it a little bit moody and browns and oranges and yellows and kind of those fall colors. And then Steamboat Marathon, same thing. Our core colors are going to be this pink, green, and blue. That's what you're going to see in pretty much all of our materials. We don't really stray from these colors so that when it's presented in our feed, we are consistent and it's identifiable. But a great exercise in maintaining your brand voice is to choose three words that all of your content can be categorized within. And this will kind of serve as a purpose, a guardrails before you post to ensure that it's following your brand identity. So when you're creating content or getting ready to post, you want to ask yourself if it checks these three boxes. And if not, you may be straying from your brand identity. So for Steamboat Colorado, I want to make sure that the content I'm putting together is genuine, grounded, and warm. For October West, I want it to be punchy, inviting, and rustic. And for Steamboat Marathon, I want inspiring, welcoming, and focused. So these are just three describing words that you can have in your head to make sure that you're staying within the guardrails of your brand identity. And the takeaway with this is that your brand identity goes beyond a great logo. It's how you are going to be visually and verbally presenting yourself to your audience on every platform. And like I said, this is going to serve as kind of our foundation to the rest of what we're going to talk about today. And that brings me to authentic storytelling. I know that a lot of people hear this when we talk about social media, but we want to know, what does it look like for your organization? So your social media should serve as a narrative, not a bulletin board. Basically, can you tell the story of your organization without directly spelling it out? You have other channels that will serve as your direct line of information, like email and website, but your social media has kind of a special ability to share your core values of your operation and who you are. So that's not to say that you can't share details of what's happening in your business, but it should be kind of interwoven with the grander story that you are trying to share. So that brings me to the 80/20 rule. So 80% of your content should inform, entertain, inspire, build relationships. It's going to be that storytelling that we're talking about, while 20% should be direct sales or hard promotional pushes. So if we go back and look at this, you can kind of see like, okay, here we have a graphic that's talking directly about October West lodging, but everything else might be talking about like details of the beef cook-off, and here's our musical performance, and just different kind of things that are more like describing and informative and entertaining. Same thing here with the marathon. You can see right here, we're talking about the half marathon only having a few spots left, but then we're showing off the shirt design. We're doing a giveaway. We're going over the course records. We're presenting the runner's guide. So we're trying to always follow that 80/20 rule, and not just be constantly pushing out sales and promotional pushes, because that doesn't really give anything for your audience to engage with. It just kind of becomes another push on the feed, another sponsored post on the feed. So really, you just want to be creating value in your content. And this can look a lot of different ways. It can look like highlighting real people that your organization is working with. It can be behind the scenes moments, authentic local experiences over just the generic stock images or templates. And thankfully, most of us here live in a place that people are already kind of naturally engaged with our lifestyle and our experiences. And that's a really easy thing to play into. We're lucky enough to live in a beautiful and adventurous place. So there's a lot of substance there that you can kind of weave into your content. All right, moving forward, intentional content. So posting with intent is going to be the top priority. Our feeds are very convoluted and inundated, and thoughtless content just does not stand out. Your content should be aimed towards connection with people. So you'll have a primary goal, and that can look like engaging a new audience, building community trust. You could be driving website traffic. You could be sharing information. But even if your post is posted with the intent of just entertaining your audience, that's better than just checking the box just to check it. And if that means that you need to post less, that is okay too. But it just should have a clear, singular purpose, all of your content across the board. So these are three examples that I put together by industry. So we have restaurant, activity, and lodging. And these are just three examples that I thought were like genuine, engaging content that doesn't require a ton of work and effort on your part if you don't have the bandwidth. I know a lot of social media managers usually wear a lot of different hats and don't have all the time to dedicate just to their social channels. And we'll talk a little bit later about kind of how to produce your content in a way that frees up some of your time and how you can do it a little bit more efficiently and effectively. But take note of these channels. It's great to research inside and outside of your industry and just kind of see what other people are doing. Because there's a lot of great content out there and you don't necessarily have to be reinventing the wheel. But as long as you're posting with a primary goal, that's what's important. And the takeaway here is that oops, takeaway, people want to engage with people, not just a brand. Our humanity is our secret weapon. You don't have to have the most stunning, aesthetic, pretty content if it's real and authentic and something that people want to be looking at. All right, moving into part three. This part through parts 4 and 5 are going to be kind of the bulk of what we're talking about. So this is kind of our low effort, high impact strategies that will turn followers into foot traffic. So talking first and foremost about our core content pillars. Something that I have found really useful when putting together my social strategies for different channels is to kind of have 3 to 5 content categories that I can repetitively post into, that I know on a consistent basis I need to be talking about. And this will signal your brand values to a new visitor to your social channel. So, for example, Visit Steamboat Springs. Obviously, our primary goal is to bring visitation to Steamboat in the spring, summer, fall months. And so we want to be talking about things like destination stewardship. We want to highlight our arts and culture. We want to talk about outdoor recreation. We want to talk about wildlife. And we also post a lot of scenic. Obviously, people are super engaged and intrigued by our beautiful views. So that is one of our fixed content categories because we know that that is something that people are engaging with on a consistent basis. And so obviously it's different for every industry and every business. But October West, we'll talk about Western heritage, insider info, anticipation building, showcasing the event. Marathon might look like community stories, history, scenic, heritage, insider info, things like that. But depending on what your business is, it can look like informational tips. It can be upcoming events. It can be something as simple as local forecasts. But it should be reflected by your brand values and the message that you are trying to convey and the story that you are sharing about your organization. So these content buckets are going to stay the same every week, every month. You will always have these 3 to 5 things to fall back onto, but you'll be rotating your new content to ensure variety, but maintain your consistency. So this can look like throwing in a trend, or if you had a special event that you want to talk about as a one-off, that will be blended in to what you're already kind of discussing. But the regular posting is going to build trust with your audience and also the platform algorithms. So, making sure that you're posting on a consistent basis shows that you are an engaged user, which signals to the platform that you're a human and your content should be prioritized. But as we talked about, intent over volume. If you're posting 100 posts that don't really have any relevance or goals behind them, then it's probably just going to fall into the wave of content that is constantly coming on Instagram and Facebook. Um, so I want to talk about video content. This is a great way to get a lot of reach and a lot of engagement with a little bit less effort. More and more platforms are pushing videos in competition with TikTok. So you can really stand out in video content. And these can be really short. They can be quick 5-second videos that you put up, and it's gonna deliver a lot of the time better than a static post, which would just be like a plain image that you're putting up. But you want to definitely keep it concise. Attention spans are shorter than ever, and I'm totally guilty of that. So you want to deliver your value really quickly, especially as I've been talking about with how convoluted our feeds are and how much content is constantly being pushed out. You have a very short amount of time before people are just doing the mindless doom scroll. So deliver quickly. This also is going to be your algorithm fuel. So video content drives higher saves and shares. Higher saves and shares is always the data measure that you want to look at. So this is basically signaling to the platform to push your content to non-followers when they see that it's being saved and shared, because that tells the platform that it's content that people are resonating with. And this is a great way to also humanize your brand, as we talked about. So it'll allow people to see faces and hear voices, and that alone will help your audience retain information faster than reading text on a graphic. 5-second rule, hook your audience instantly. So within 3 to 5 seconds is a lot of the time all you have to get somebody's attention. So here's a video. I hope these videos work for us, but you'll get the slides afterwards. So I definitely recommend going through and watching the videos in here when you guys get the slides. But this is a good example of a super short video with a very quick hook. Oops. So that's a good example. Oops. Okay, so that's a good example, short, sweet, to the point, and kind of just engaging, fun content that people want to see. Okay, trends and algorithm engagement. Trends are a great way to produce content without having to come up with your own ideas. You want to definitely use these sparingly, but everybody loves to jump on a trend, and it's a really fun way to not necessarily have to reinvent the wheel and come up with something really good, but it's already content that's proven to be engaging and resonating with audiences. So use them sparingly. I think 1 to 3 aligned, keyword aligned trends a month that match your brand identity is a good way to do it. Avoid chasing the viral trends that feel forced or out of character. So obviously, there's always tons and tons of viral trends that are going on. But if it is not in alignment with what you're doing and what your organization is presenting, then it's again not going to signal that it's authentic content. And then I want to talk just engagement. People want to see that you're engaging in your comment section, in other people's comment sections. You'll be able to find profiles. People will find your profile in comment sections. And then algorithms, again, see you as a real person and not the bots, and then want to promote your content further. So I recommend take 10 minutes right after you post and just spend that time scrolling, commenting, and engaging with other accounts in your community. And this will kind of kickstart your reach. So just scroll through your feed, comment on videos you like, just in the way that you are probably naturally engaging on your personal profiles. And the 48-hour rule. So as soon as you post, make sure you're monitoring and responding to the comments on your new post during the first 2 days. And again, boosting engagement and fostering a dialogue. As I said, your humanity is your secret weapon, and any ways that you can show that you are a living, breathing person representing your organization, and fostering that dialogue is going to really benefit you in terms of the algorithm and also just building that trust within your audience. So here is a trend that's been going around. A lot of people have been doing this, preparing for the documentary, quote unquote. And they did a really good job. This is, I think it's Washington that did this, but they did this preparing for documentary with Smokey the Bear, which I love. And so you can see that got almost 43,000 likes, 184 comments, was reposted, which means basically anybody who reposts it delivers to their own feed and their own audience. So this is almost 3,000 new profiles that are delivering it to their audience of hundreds, thousands followers. And then 11.2K shares, which we talked about is a really good metric to pay attention to. So, not original content, but has their own twist on it. And so that's a great way to kind of engage with these trends. Um, so, targeted partnerships and how they drive reach. So, social collaborations are a really good way to tap into new audiences. They work because these are already well-established, trusting audiences that usually match your ideal customer profile and therefore expands your reach. These social collaborations are not just about like massive follower accounts, but the relevance and trust that these creators have with their audiences. So we did a collaboration with Brie Walston. She did a reel for us for Visit Steamboat Springs, and she also did one for the marathon. And they worked amazing because her audience directly overlaps with the demographic we wanted to reach. She is basically like a travel influencer, specifically in Colorado, but she's gone everywhere. And so obviously travelers and people looking for adventure are usually our audience. And so reaching her team of thousands of people is a great way to reach out to new people. And like I said, this is well-aligned, targeted partnership that will amplify your digital footprint far more effectively than just broad, untargeted advertising. So the qualities of these strong partnerships are, as I said, alignment, high engagement rate over high follower accounts, and natural content integration, meaning you're already kind of talking about the same stuff on your social media channels. So if a restaurant paired up with like an air conditioning company, maybe not a supernatural content integration there, but you're going to measure your partnership return on investment by tracking engagement across the channels, your reaches, and your saves. And this doesn't mean that you have to go out and pay an influencer to highlight your business. It can be local partnerships as well. So last year and this year, our new videos are not out yet, but this video that I'll show you is a collaboration that we did last year between Steamboat Resort and October West. We know that Steamboat Resort shares an audience with similar interests and a further expanding reach than we have on the newer October West channels. And so collaborating with them extends to more audiences and therefore gives our event more exposure to those who otherwise wouldn't see it. So I will play it and then I want to talk about a couple of the metrics that we see on it. Okay, so I move pretty quickly through this data when I'm scrolling. Oops. All right, it's not going to let me pause, but I wanted to point out that 99% of the people who saw that video were non-followers of the October West channel, which is obviously incredible exposure for us, considering it received about 41,000 views as compared to the average 3 to 500 that we normally get on the October West channels. So like I said, that is a great way to just expand your reach, and partnering with local brands and companies is a really fun and effective way to do that and to build community trust. So, takeaway is to stay consistent and stay concise in your videos, and that engagement is absolutely a two-way street when it comes to social media. Okay, part four, we're going to talk about applying this to every day. So I know this looks a little bit crazy, so just stick with me for a second. But these are operational and free tools that I wanted to share with you guys. So starting out down here, sorry, one sec. Okay, so this is a content calendar template that I created. And so not everything is going to be posted to all channels. So I'll just walk you through kind of what we're looking at here. So we have Instagram, all socials. I have a category for our blog and for our email to make sure that our content from the top of the funnel down to the bottom is all in alignment about what we're talking about during that time. And then I have the day of the week and then the status, which would be like planned, scheduled, published, whatever phase of the content that you're in, the date, and then this is the content categories that we talked about a little bit earlier. So we have history, scenic, outdoor recreation. We have 250, 150 specific to this year because we've talked a lot about that with Colorado's anniversary and stewardship culture. So these are again just making sure that I'm spreading out my content but staying consistent. And then we have our visual type. So static post or carousel or reel. And again, just to make sure I'm having variety in the visuals that I'm posting. Honestly, this is like kind of a lot of static posts. I would prefer to have a carousel or reel at least once a week or both. But this will then translate into this. So this is in your Meta Business Suite in Facebook. And they have a free planner tool that I find super, super helpful. It's a free direct tool for scheduling posts and stories across Facebook and Instagram. So when you're creating this content, you can basically give yourself a little bit longer of a runway, know what's coming down the pipeline over the next 2 weeks, and have your content scheduled out. It'll also give you insights into times of day that your audience is engaging a lot with your content, things like that. So this is a great place to be, especially because it ties directly to our Meta Business Suite and our insights, which we will talk about in a minute. And then Canva brand kits. So Canva, you can use the free version. I like to have maybe 5 ready to use templates formatted to just quickly customize. As I said, we're adhering to our 80-20 promotional ratio, but it is good to just have your branded content batched and ready to go to just fill in wherever you need to. So this example was for a company that I worked with, and it's just, like I said, those templates. And like I said, it is free, but I do recommend just going ahead and paying for the professional or the business level. You can upload your brand directly to the platform, and then they will help you create these templates. If creativity and graphic design is not something you want to be participating in, that is a really good way to do it. So I will send out a blank template of this after for anybody who wants it and anybody who has questions about how they want to customize it to their industry or organization. I'm happy to talk about that with you as well. Okay, so batching in production. It's super easy to get sucked into tasks and not feel like you have enough time to like get out and create a brand new post or reel. And so blocking off time and creating a bank of content is going to help immensely. So I recommend taking 1 hour every couple weeks dedicated to capturing your videos and photos, prepping templates, or creating quote unquote B-roll. So what I do for B-roll is I basically will just go and I will take 5-second clips of totally random things. And these can kind of be stitched together to create content. Or like we saw with the cocktail video, those can serve as just quick and easy 5-second posts that you can put up. But as you're taking this content and gathering it, I recommend adding it to like a Google Drive or a Dropbox, even like a shared iPhone album, whatever your team uses. And then give access to your teammates and put them to the task if they're filming kind of mundane moments or they're out hiking or they're downtown shopping locally or whatever it looks like. Have them add to this and then it'll help kind of build up that library of content that you can always use. So this is just going to help kind of prevent the daily burnout and keeps your quality consistent. I don't think many of us feel like we have the time to go out and come up with something new and creative every day. So having this kind of storage will help a ton. Okay, so stories and interactive features. Facebook and Instagram have definitely told us that they create these tools to kind of foster engagement. And they love to see people using these stories and interactive features that they're creating. It's a great way to kind of play again into the platform's algorithms. And it's a super easy way to kind of engage your audience. So they have polls, question boxes, quizzes, sliders, and it'll invite direct interaction and increase your viewer retention. And there's so much that you can do with this, with the quizzes, with the polls, with the question boxes, and you can really curate your content around that. It doesn't ever hurt to even ask your audience what they want to see more of. And then there's the add yours and trend stickers. I'm happy to talk more one-on-one about this, but a lot of you will see like add yours July, and it'll be 6 pictures that you add for your month of July. And these create topic feeds that anybody who responds to these stickers is entered into a feed, and then your content is discoverable that way. And I just made a little quick story of my dog eating a carrot so you can see what this will kind of look like, and how quick and easy it is to just do something that is going to further engage your audience and get some direct dialogue in your inbox. Some good carrot ASMR. Hopefully you can hear it. Perfect. Okay. And so obviously you would post that and then people would respond to the poll. You might get some direct messages saying, oh my God, he's so cute. Because of course he is. But moving on, we're going to talk about research and creativity. So this does not necessarily mean you have to sit there and doom scroll for hours, but a lot of people in these industries who are tasked with social media aren't necessarily folks who want to be spending a lot of time on it, but there is a lot to discover by spending 20 minutes a day in your feed. So inspiration sourcing, explore your platforms regularly. There, as I said, is a ton to discover and analyze about which audios are trending, visual hooks that people are using, the trends that we talked about, and formatting strategies. I think with social media, there is already so much to discover and a lot of really great creative things that people are putting together and putting out there that are proven to be engaging, good content. So don't reinvent the wheel. Adapt these successful frameworks that you're finding from other brands, both inside and outside of your industry. Add your own unique perspective, your own unique twist. Don't copy it exactly, but add a little bit of spice that's pertains to your exact brand and post it because you know that this is stuff that people already like to see. It's content they resonate with, that they engage with. So don't reinvent the wheel. You don't have to be the most creative person to be a social media manager. You just have to be willing to do your research and find what is applicable to your personal brand. Okay, part 5, we're going to talk about data now. Obviously, your data is going to inform every single decision that you make when deciphering your strategy and seeing what works, what doesn't, and kind of honing in on what your brand is saying through your social media. Not every platform is going to serve the same purpose. Like I've been talking about, we're doing Facebook and Instagram today. But while we kind of expect Instagram to lead in aesthetic engagement, Facebook is actually a great resource for local community-driven stories. They're a broader, older demographic, and there's a lot of engagement to be found on Facebook. So this can look like nostalgic posts, community news, event updates, and super strong link shares. What's great about Facebook is if you post a link, it directly creates like a clickable link share in the feed, which Instagram doesn't have the ability to do. So it's a great way to get people quickly onto your website. And there's a lot of a lot of community discussion that goes on Facebook, as I think all of us are aware. So Instagram, younger, visual first demographic. There's a high focus on aesthetics, reels, behind the scenes content, and visually aspirational content. But the gist of this is that you want to tailor your message to where your target audience is actually spending their time. So a really good example of this was the Chamber profile posted a member minute of Rabbit Ears Motel recently. It did significantly better on Facebook, which I think a lot of people just expect their engagement to be better on Instagram, and that's true a lot of the time. But this post blew it out of the water on Facebook. You can see here it had 16,000 views on Facebook and just under 700 on Instagram. So obviously that is a huge difference. Had 428 interactions, which is like your likes, comments, shares, and only 31 on Instagram. And obviously, Rabbit Ears Motels holds a very special place in our hearts. So this kind of falls into the nostalgia that people really like to see on Facebook. I know on the Visit Steamboat Springs channel, whenever a post goes up, I get a lot of comments saying, "Oh, I hiked Hans Peak in the 70s," or "I had my first kiss on the Fish Creek Falls Bridge." You know, there's a lot of nostalgia that comes with this kind of stuff. All right, measuring impact. So these are great metrics to track in order to inform your decisions and creating and curating your content per audience. So I like to look at conversion and click-through rates. So tracking your link clicks, your landing page visits that you're pointing people to from your social channels, your call to actions. And this is kind of evaluating your bottom of funnel impact. So are people that are coming to your page converting, essentially? Audience demographics and peak activity. So it's really good to have an understanding of who your audience for your industry is, and for your organization. And then from there, you'll be able to kind of analyze their age, their active hours, their locations, and the kind of content that they are engaging with. And then you'll be able to adjust your publishing schedules from there. You'll be able to go into your Facebook planner, as I showed you, and say, okay, I know my audience is mostly active at 8 p.m. when they're laying in bed on Monday through Thursday. So that's when my content is going to be scheduled out. And then you are not in bed at 8 o'clock posting your content. And then actionable insights. So I recommend just once a month, analyzing your content. Of course, it's even better if you do it more, but once a month to kind of double down on what's performing really well and then phase out anything that is underperforming. So your key tools are going to be Meta Business Suite, Instagram Insights, and your Google Analytics. And on the left side, you could just see like me kind of clicking through the insights on Instagram. I really like coming into this panel, and you can see all of my content in kind of highest engagement to lowest engagement. And then I can go in and understand better why people really liked this post versus this post. Okay, and then last slide. This is a super easy way to read your data. So this is just like 3 things that you can look for and make adjustments based on. So high reach, low engagement is going to tell you that your post was seen, but the call to action was not resonating. So a good adjustment from there is to add a clear question that people can respond to, or go for a stronger visual hook on the next go around. Low reach, high engagement will tell you that a small group of people really, really liked it and the content was good, but the algorithm was not pushing it out. And so the adjustment there is to turn it into a short reel or a carousel, which Instagram naturally boosts. High saves and shares. I mentioned this earlier, but this is your jackpot metric. So when they save a post, that means they want to come back to it. They want to read it again. There's information in there that they want to reference later. And that signals to the platform that it's high value content, and is going to boost your overall account visibility. So I know it's hard not to, but try not to worry too much about vanity data like the follower count, but focus on engaging those who are in front of you and focus on making sure that the content that you're putting out is resonating with your audience. Okay. I think that is all I have. And I would love to open it up to Q&A. I'll go ahead and stop my share and I'll answer any questions you have.
Awesome. So we have two questions right now. So as a reminder, everyone, feel free to put any questions you may have for Kenzie in the Q&A option. You can post those anonymously if you are more comfortable that way. But our first question is going to be, is there anything a B2B business needs to do differently?
Hmm. I think this the gist stays the same that when we're interacting on social media, the goal is to be sharing the story. And so I would take that opportunity from your business profile to go to other business profiles who are doing the same thing and engage with their content and talk about, I love what you guys are doing. Let's collaborate over this. I think the human to human through a social media lens is just as important as your business to business because it's the same thing. And in essentially, like I said, humanity is going to be the superpower. So in theory, it should be two humans interacting with each other.
Love it. Okay. So our next question is going to be, is there a minimum and maximum for the number of slides in a story?
I don't, as far as I know, there is not a maximum. You can post as many as you want, but attention spans, as I said, are very short. So I would keep your content concise, which is what we talked about a little bit earlier. I think anything that is relevant is worth putting on your stories. But if you are looking to just grab somebody's attention quickly, keep it to one or two. Have some kind of sticker or call to action on there and then call it a day because usually people are going to get three or four in and move along to the next thing.
That makes sense. All right. Our next one is kind of a tough one. What do you advise, or what advice do you have for dealing with negative comments on your posts?
Well, I think this is something that we experience a lot on the visitor channel, which is totally fine. I think first and foremost, it's important to kind of redirect the conversation and if the situation calls for it, to educate. So if somebody is posting something negative that isn't true, then I think it's totally fine to politely let them know the truth of the matter. But I also feel like there is no shame in blocking or hiding commentary that is not conducive to the conversation. If somebody is just trolling you for like no reason, then I don't think there's any harm in just hiding that for your other followers to see. But if you have an opportunity to redirect or create a more positive dialogue, then I think that's a great way to kind of change the current culture that we see on Facebook specifically. Instagram's not as bad as Facebook, so.
Okay, and this next question does kind of relate to that previous one.
Mhm.
Is the quote, all press is good press, truly accurate, especially when reputation is usually bashed on social media?
I I don't necessarily think all press is good press. I think for your social channels, that's a great place for you to have autonomy over the messaging that you want to share. So this is your story to share. This is your platform to talk about who you are and what your values are. And so if there is negative commentary that again you don't feel like is aligning with your values or you don't feel like is a fair representation of your organization, get rid of it. I mean, like I said, this is your platform. You have the autonomy and the ownership of it. Um, and I think if there is like the quote unquote bad press about it, there's usually two sides to the story about it, and especially in a community where there is a lot of dialogue. Like there should be dialogue that you can redirect, but your channel is your channel, and you don't have to keep something on there that you don't feel like is an accurate representation of your organization. Hopefully that helps. That one's always like tough.
Definitely. All right. So a little bit more on the tools side of things. Do you have a favorite tool other than Canva for social content? Things like scheduling tools, editing tools, cameras, etc.
Yes. So we use Later, Later, for scheduling our content. And I really like that platform because they have a really good like insight section. So all of my Instagram analytics that I do on a monthly basis, I like to look at theirs because they'll show you things like post reach and profile reach. So it's not just like, oh, this many people saw my post, but it's like also this many people are going and checking out my profile. So I really like Later. We also use, we do obviously a lot of user generated content on the social channel, sorry, the visitors channel, and we use a platform called CrowdRiff. And this basically gathers all of the user generated content. So anybody who's in our area and they tag Steamboat or Yampa River or anything that kind of like pertains to the content I'm looking for, it gets put into a feed for me and then I can go through and ask permission. So I'm sure there's people on this webinar who have seen like a generated comment from me asking if I can have permission to use their content. But that's a great way to get a ton of content without necessarily having to be the person to go out and do it yourself. But I think also in terms of like getting content, like it's not always the easiest thing, but just mindlessly, like if you're out doing something, take those 5-second clips, like take 2 minutes and just take several videos and then you can put your phone away, enjoy your hike, do whatever. But those are the platforms that I really like. But as much as Facebook is kind of like always changing, which it is, the back side of Facebook is so confusing. But the more time that you can kind of spend back there and like understand that is going to be like the most accurate, best place to get your analytics. And Facebook wants you to use their tools. So if you can use those free tools well and get really acquainted with them, they are great resources.
Awesome. And we can probably share some of those resource links in our
Yes.
follow-up email everyone is going to receive.
Yes.
All right. Up next, do you think having QR codes linking to social is helpful? Do you know much about QR code tracking data, or how do you track converted engagement into sales?
I would probably prefer to use my QR codes to go to the website. The website is going to sit at the top of our funnel. And so the most detailed information that people can get is going to be on those web pages that you're sharing. Um, Again, I think social media is kind of a really good place for your storytelling and your sharing of your core values of the brand that you want to portray, of the things that your organization is doing and the good that's going on. So if you're using the QR codes, I would say I'd rather those go to the website. And they're easier to track on the website, like conversions and things like that. Like your conversions on social media is mostly going to be like if you post a link or, like if you have like a link in bio, you're usually going to be pointing people to your website anyways. So that's kind of where you want to be converting people. What was the other part of the question? I feel like I missed half of it.
Um, just how do you track that converting engagement? So it does sound like you answered that part.
Yeah, and there is also metrics on Instagram Insights that tell you like how many link clicks and things like that. So there is like conversion metrics in Instagram Insights too.
Amazing. All right. Up next, we have how far in advance are you planning your content calendar?
I used to do it further in advance. Like I would schedule sometimes like 3 or 4 weeks out, but I kind of learned my lesson on that because I don't think that the content stays super relevant if you're posting that far out in advance because obviously things can change very quickly in that matter of time. So I will usually for October Weston Marathon, because it's like kind of evergreen content and it's more informational, I'll schedule those out like 2 weeks in advance. But Visitor, I usually post, like I take Monday and I post everything for the week that I need to. Because, like for example, with the fires or like if there's like a lot of smoke in the valley, but then I had a post scheduled 3 weeks ago that was like, get out and enjoy the clear blue skies. It doesn't always stay super relevant. So you want to make sure that if you are scheduling, that it's going to be content that stays evergreen. So I'd say like a week, 2 weeks tops.
Awesome. All right. We've got just a couple more questions here. Um,
Right.
while adding a different element of service, events, exhibits, or highlighted products to offerings of a company, how early would you start marketing? And how often would you recommend highlighting a new product or service within your scheduled marketing?
I would give yourself 6 weeks or so on something new, like an event or exhibit. If it's like if your organization like is an event, like October Western Marathon, obviously that changes. But if it's something that's just like a kind of once-off happening, people if they're given like more than a couple months, they'll probably be like, okay, like I'll think about, I'm going to table this until later. I notice that people's attention is not really like grasped until at least 6 weeks. And then it's usually like the week before the people are like, oh yeah, I forgot I have that. And that's when reinforcement tools come back in. Like, so your social, like you'll be talking about this stuff and kind of using it, in that sense, like your goal of that post would be like awareness. But then your other tools like email or like a text message or something like that, that's going to like reinforce is going to be really helpful for that kind of stuff to just like stay present in people's minds. And then what was the second part?
The second half was how often would you recommend highlighting a new product or service?
I guess it depends on how often you're rolling those out. If it's like I would honestly, as often as you are rolling them out, I would take the chance to highlight them. And that could be one of your content buckets that you have on a consistent basis. So, say that you're rolling out a new product every month, that could be one of your consistent content buckets that you say, like, product of the month, new product of the month, or whatever. And again, it's just going to be that consistency. So, you wouldn't utilize that as your like new content. It's going to be the stuff that you're posting like on a consistent basis. Hopefully that helped answer the question. And if there are questions that you guys don't feel like you're getting the full clarity on or you need a little bit further explanation, I'm happy to answer any emails or phone calls on it too. So feel free to reach out.
Amazing. All right. Well, our last question right now is, do you have recommendations for Reels editing tools outside of Facebook and Instagram?
I mostly do my editing for Instagram within the app, but I do use CapCut for TikTok. That one, CapCut has a lot of capabilities, and so does TikTok. You might just get like stuck with their like little tag on them. But if you're looking to go kind of outside the depth of what Instagram Reels can provide you, then I would recommend CapCut. But I would definitely say to get as acquainted as possible on Instagram Reels as possible. That is like if you aren't used to Instagram's editing tool, and then you like jump to something like CapCut, that's like for like a little bit more like heavy duty editing. Like Instagram is just going to be like your basic stuff. Like if you're not trying to like piece together a 5 minute music video, then you should be fine on just the Instagram app. But for those leveling it up, I would say that CapCut's great.
And we did have someone mention Edits by Meta is a great app that works in tandem with Instagram.
Perfect.
So we can note that as well. All right, well, we do have just a couple more minutes. If we have any further questions, feel free to toss those into the Q&A. And otherwise, oh, there we go. We got another one. Are there top things resonating with visitors on your channels this summer?
I have found that the scenic stuff has been the like most engaged content. Um, let's see. I know I have it in a slide here. I think okay, so wait, let me go find it. Because there was one, the top one I think was a photo of the Devil's Causeway that I put up. People really liked that one. And then I think the other one that I put up was Hans Peak. And so I've just found that it's tending to be like the scenic stuff. I also know that people really engage with the content that is like prevalent. So when the fires were going on, People really wanted to I had a story with like 14,000 views on it that was talking about like what was going on with the fires. But otherwise, like, okay, so looking at this, it's Fish Creek Falls and the Devil's Causeway were my top two. And it's that nostalgia content, like I was talking about. People are like, I used to hike the Devil's Causeway every year or whatever. Like, it's things that people like, it hits a memory for them. But content that like doesn't do awesome is usually, at least this is only like true for my channel. It's different for everyone, but usually things that are posted with like text on them, like a graphic. Like for example, I posted one like how to buy a cowboy hat, and that one like didn't do as well as I would have hoped. But and another one that used to do amazing was wildlife, and that one's kind of fallen off. So it just like your insights are going to be ever changing. Like content that used to hit really well with people like won't always be that way. So that's why it's really important to like stay on top of your analytics and then pivot where you need to, because it's always going to be changing and people are going to have different feelings depending on what's going on in the world. So
Love it. Love it. All right. Well, again, if you do have any other questions, we are happy to get those answered. But I'll get started on our closing. So, first and foremost, thank you all for participating and engaging today. Thank you for joining us, Kenzie. I will be sending out the slides and the recording of this session. If you have additional questions, don't hesitate to send them my way, and I will facilitate with Kenzie to get those answered for you. Before we leave, I would like to highlight two really exciting upcoming chamber events. First is our Thrive Women Summit. Join us for a day of inspiration, connection, and practical leadership at the Thrive Together Summit on August 28th. This is designed by women for women, and it is an engaging day packed with inspiring keynotes, as well as customizable workshops and breakout sessions to foster meaningful connections to help you grow as a leader. And then our other really exciting event, Kenzie did mention a couple times today, is going to be Oktoberfest. Oktoberfest is coming up in September. Tickets are on sale now. It is a can't miss fall celebration featuring a wide selection of craft beer, beverages, a vendor village, great food, friendly competition, and live music. The weekend starts with a beer stroll on Friday evening and is followed by a full-scale Saturday festival at the Steamboat Mountain Village, where attendees can sample brews and beverages from across the region and enjoy the beloved beef cook-off. Look out for quite a few local restaurants in that. And then as well as they're able to compete in Oktoberfest games, browse the market, and soak up all of the mountain town fall fun, all set against our stunning mountain backdrop. So we hope to see you there. And again, thank you all for your time today.